What you're looking at is the sight picture on my Taurus PT111 G2. Now you might remember from the past I had some great opinions about this gun's potential, just wasn't pleased with the way it delivered. For the cost, it's hard to complain about, but you might notice the top edge is there, if I can keep it focused on the front sight post. Top edge isn't straight, neither is the rear edge. This has been a really frustrating thing for me. That looks like it may have been solved by Lakeline LLC, the same folks that solved our spring catching issue. First off, I'll show clear. Now this recoil assembly is also by Lakeline. Not only does it make shooting it a lot smoother, but also eliminated the pesky hang-ups we were having previously. So from Lakeline in nice, non-excessive packaging, which I appreciate, helps keep costs down, are Trijicon sights for the Taurus. And here's a nice surprise, something that you don't often get with aftermarket stuff. Instructions. Not only are they instructions in plain English, but with color photos. Props to Lakeline for that. Let's take a look at the sights. The rear sight has a rather interesting squared off front end to it, and our tritium inserts back in there. It looks almost backwards, but this nice slope here will help reduce drag when drawing from the holster. Our front sight post, contoured of course on the front edge, and with our tritium insert. Now from the instructions, it looks like all I've got to do is remove the screw out of the back here and the screw out from under here. Let's see how easy it is. So we'll start with the front sight post. All I've got to do is get at that little screw in there. I've got a nice discount Walmart screwdriver here. If it'll fit. Now you're going to have to hold on to the front sight post so it doesn't do this. See how it's spun on me? And it looks like I should probably use a slightly wider bit for my screwdriver. I'll be right back. Now I've got a wider tip so I don't risk stripping the screws badly, and an extension on here to help get my hand out of the way of the shot. So many things are easy to do until you're trying to keep camera view. And we've got that free. There's our factory sight, and this red gunk here is from some thread locker that the Brazilians put on for us. Thank you, Brazil. I'm going to put this screw back into the front sight post a little bit, just so that it doesn't go running around and I end up wondering what it's for. This is most certainly a plastic front sight. The rear sight is just that screw in there. Now I need to go back to the slightly smaller screw bit. Part of the reason why I pay attention to bit size is too small of a bit and you risk stripping out the screw because all of the force is being applied to just one area. Got that screw loose. Seems not quite all the way. There we go. And that comes clear off. We will need this sight for, or this screw for the new sights. So I need to try to fight that out of there. I don't know why it's hanging up. I'm going to put a little pressure on the back side of it and see if I can coax it out. There we are. So the next step is to make sure we clean off any debris that we might have had in the slide. The rear is pretty clean. The front, however, is going to need a little bit of attention. We want to get that goopus out of there to make sure that we've got a nice clean spot for the new sight. So with it mostly cleaned off, we'll slide our rear sight in place. It does have a little bit of wriggle room for centering it. That's fun. Everyone loves guessing on their placement. The front sight post fit is pretty good. That'll be an easy one. And I see that the screw from Lakeline does have a little bit of blue thread locker already on it. We'll want to put thread locker on the rear sight screw. Just be cautious not to put too much, because if it drops down in that hole, well, then it's inside your gun. And we don't want it to interfere with the striker. This is where having a magnetic screwdriver would be excellent, as I'm sure I'm going to drop this screw at least once. Ooh, that is way too much thread locker. Alright, we've cleaned it up. We've got just a little dab of thread locker on there now. And of course the screw goes in upside down. In there, and we'll start to tighten it down. Now we want to get it as centered as we can visually. Looks like it squares off with these corners just about perfectly. That helps. Hopefully this won't need readjustment like the factory sights did. Now, I do not recall any torque spits being on the instructions, so I'm just going to snug it down. There's our rear sight. Let's do the front. I'm going to swap back to the broader. My fingers are nice and sticky from that spill of thread locker earlier. Oh, this is a Phillips. That size will fit. It does say small Phillips head screwdriver in the instructions that were included. I just pulled the typical male maneuver and didn't pay attention to the instructions.
See if I can get that screw started. I have the tool.
Here we are. Nice and snug. Make sure it's straight, or at least straighter than the factory was. Looks good. Give it one more slight twist. And there we are, folks. Looks good. Let's see how it works in the dark. And this bit's always difficult because, of course, camera's correct. But here we are in a dark bathroom. Those sights are nice and clear. Camera's focusing on the rear sight. We go down into total darkness here. It's nice and bright. So once again, it looks like we've got Lakeline LLC to thank for another solution for Taurus owners.